When life feels like it's closing in, when the weight of responsibilities, fears, and endless thoughts presses down on your chest, what do? Do you panic, scroll endlessly, or try to drown the noise with distractions? Imagine, for a moment, stepping into the shoes of a monk. Not the cliché image of a serene figure meditating on a mountaintop, untouched by chaos, but someone who has faced the relentless storms of life. They discovered a way to move through them without breaking. Monks do not escape reality. They confront it, not with brute force, not with denial, but with a quiet, unshakable clarity that transforms overwhelm into insight. What is it that they do when life becomes too heavy to bear? How can we, in our noisy, frantic lives, learn from their approach? The first thing a monk does when the world feels overwhelming is to pause. This is not merely stopping physically, but allowing the mind to stop its endless chatter. Most of us think pausing is passive. We think stopping is weakness. Yet the monk understands that the mind's constant motion, like a river swollen with rain, can carry you away. If you do not step to the shore and breathe, pausing is an act of courage. It is a declaration: I will not be swept away by my own thoughts. In the silence that follows this pause, they observe. Not judgmentally, not critically, but like a scientist watching an experiment unfold. Thoughts, fears, and anxieties rise and fall like clouds in a stormy sky. A monk notices the cloud but does not become the storm. Imagine standing in the middle of a bustling city square yet feeling completely untouched by the noise around you. This is not magic. It is learned attention. By observing without reacting, the mind begins to untangle itself. Each worry, each pressing demand is seen for what it is. A thought, not a prophecy, a feeling, not a prison. Then comes acceptance. This is not the acceptance that surrenders to despair. It is the deep recognition that life's chaos exists, that it will always exist, and that resistance only amplifies suffering. The monk, confronted with overwhelming circumstances, says not "why me?" but "this is life," and in that simple shift, this subtle, almost imperceptible shift, the energy previously spent in struggle is freed for understanding and action. You might wonder, does this mean the monk is passive in life? Far from it. After pausing, observing, and accepting comes clarity. Overwhelm clouds judgment. It distorts priorities and makes mountains of molehills. The monk asks, what is real? What is urgent? What is mine to act upon right now? Life is like a house filled with rooms, each cluttered with possessions, some valuable, some trivial. When you feel trapped, monks teach you to step into the hallway of your mind and open the doors one by one. Some rooms you close forever, letting the dust settle on things that do not matter. Others you enter carefully, rearranging, clearing space, lighting candles of understanding. This is the practice of discernment, and it is not a skill of the intellect alone. It is cultivated through presence, patience, and the willingness to look honestly at the chaos inside. Another tool the monk uses when life becomes overwhelming is movement, not always the meditative stillness that we picture. Sometimes they walk, sometimes they perform simple tasks with total attention, sometimes they chant or breathe in rhythm with the body. The world is not paused outside their door. It continues its relentless march. By engaging the body in mindful activity, the mind finds a rhythm to follow, and thoughts that once spiraled wildly begin to align, to dance to a calmer beat. Consider this: when your thoughts spiral like leaves, caught in a whirlwind, the body becomes your anchor. The monk understands that mind and body are not separate. One cannot calm a stormy mind while the body races or trembles. Breath becomes a tether, steps become punctuation, simple actions become medicine for the restless spirit. In the midst of overwhelm, the monk cultivates gratitude, not as a superficial practice, but as a radical shift in perspective. When every task seems urgent, every worry relentless, every feeling amplified, gratitude is a small window through which light enters. It does not erase difficulty. It does not make the storm disappear. But it reminds the mind that even within chaos, there exists something to acknowledge, something to honor, something that grounds you in reality rather than panic. And here is the twist: monks do not chase peace. They meet it within the chaos. Most of us imagine peace as a destination, a final reward for enduring hardship or solving every problem. Monks see peace not as something to be acquired, but as a constant companion waiting patiently behind the veil of distraction and agitation. When life is overwhelming, they remind themselves and us that peace is not outside, it is a lens, a way of seeing, a quiet space. in which thoughts come and go without claiming the self. You might ask, what about fear, grief, anger, frustration? Monks do not pretend these emotions do not exist. They embrace them fully, allowing each emotion to be felt and processed without suppression. Life is overwhelming precisely because we resist it, because we fight against its natural flow. When a monk feels fear, they breathe into it. When they feel anger, they witness it. When they feel grief, they allow it to be expressed in silence or through tears. Each emotion becomes a teacher, each challenge an invitation to awaken deeper presence. One of the most powerful lessons a monk offers in times of overwhelm is the recognition of impermanence. Everything you feel, everything you fear, everything that burdens you will pass. Clouds never remain fixed in the sky. Rivers do not run in reverse. Storms do not last forever. By internalizing impermanence, a monk transforms panic into perspective. This does not trivialize suffering, it reframes it. Overwhelm becomes temporary, a wave that rises, crashes, and dissolves. You begin to see that just as the sky clears after a storm, so too does your mind after intense pressure. Another subtle, almost invisible practice is simplicity. Decisions, obligations, possessions, endless streams of information, they crowd the mind until clarity cannot emerge. By simplifying, monks do not shrink from life. They make room for it to be lived fully. Your mind, uncluttered, can see what truly matters. In the face of overwhelming life, monks remind themselves and us that control is an illusion. We can influence, we can guide, we can respond. But the universe unfolds according to its own rhythms. The monk's wisdom lies in discerning what can be acted upon and what must be surrendered. The surrender is not defeat. It is freedom. When you stop fighting the currents beyond your reach, your energy flows to the currents you can navigate. They do not waste life resisting what is inevitable. They focus on what can grow, what can heal, what can transform. And in all of this, the pausing, observing, accepting, moving, practicing gratitude, embracing impermanence, simplifying, surrendering, the monk cultivates something deeper: presence. Presence is not absence of challenge. Presence is a willingness to meet challenge with full consciousness, with full heart, with full breath. Life may overwhelm, yet in presence, overwhelm no longer dictates the rhythm of your mind. Overwhelm becomes a teacher, not a tyrant. Consider for a moment a storm at sea. You're not the storm, you're not the waves. You are the sailor, learning the art of steering, adjusting the sails, finding the balance between resistance and surrender. The monk becomes the sailor of their own consciousness. This is a profound shift. Overwhelm is not something to escape. It is something to navigate. You may be wondering, how can I, in my busy modern life, apply this? Begin with pause. 5 breaths, fully felt. Observe one thought without judgment. Name it. Let it float away. Accept what cannot be changed today. Choose one small action that matters and do it fully. Feel gratitude for one thing that exists right now, however small. Step into the simplicity of one task, one moment, one breath. In time, as you practice, the river of your mind will calm. The storm will not vanish, but you will no longer be tossed like driftwood. Overwhelm will be transformed from a tyrant into a guide. And remember, the monk does not seek perfection. They seek presence. They seek clarity. They seek the courage to face life exactly as it is, without embellishment, without denial, without fear of imperfection. Overwhelm is not failure. It is a sign of engagement, of living fully. What monks teach us is that even in chaos, there is a way to move, a way to breathe, a way to be. You do not have to solve everything. You do not have to control everything. You do not have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders alone. You can pause, you can observe, you can accept. You can act with clarity, you can feel with openness, you can simplify. You can surrender, you can find presence. And in that presence, life is no longer a storm to survive, but a journey to navigate, a landscape to explore, a river to sail with mindful intention. So, when life becomes overwhelming, ask yourself, am I fighting the waves, or am I learning to sail with them? Am I clinging to the chaos, or am I discovering the calm at the center of the storm? Each choice is a step toward mastery, not over the world, but over your own mind. Overwhelm is inevitable. Confusion is inevitable. Pain is inevitable. But so too is clarity, so too is peace, so too is the quiet, unshakable strength that comes from facing the storm with full presence. In every moment, you have the power to pause, observe, accept, and act. You have the power to find the eye of the hurricane, the calm in the chaos, the light that penetrates the clouds. This is not a promise of an easy life, but a promise of a life fully lived, with wisdom, with courage, with attention. And in that life, overwhelm no longer defines you. It teaches you, shapes you, and leads you to a deeper understanding of who you are and what truly matters. Take a breath, notice one thought, let it float by. Step into one action fully. Feel the weight of your shoulders shift, even slightly. This is the beginning of the monk's way, not a distant mountain, not a lifetime away, but here now in your very next breath. This is how life, no matter how overwhelming, becomes navigable. This is how you reclaim your mind from the tyranny of endless thought. This is how you find presence, strength, and clarity. And as you step forward, remember each pause, each observation, each acceptance, and as you step forward, remember each pause, each observation, each pause, each observation, each acceptance, each acceptance, each acceptance, each acceptance. Each small act of clarity builds the foundation of a life guided not by panic or distraction, but by mindful choice. This is the lesson monks have practiced for centuries, distilled into moments you can access today. Your mind is not the storm. You are the navigator. And when you choose to navigate consciously, even the fiercest waves become your teachers. If this message resonates, pause and reflect in the comments. Share the moment you've experienced overwhelm and how you navigated it. Like this video if it reminds you that calm can exist in chaos. Subscribe to Echoes of Greatness for more guidance, more insight, and more tools to help you turn life storms into your greatest teachers. Because the monk's way is not about escaping life. It's about living it fully, clearly, and courageously, even when the waves rise high.